Hello and welcome to Winter Kit. Now this is going to be, I think, the most comprehensive winter cycling kit you'll see. Now I don't mean to get into boasting about who's done the most coldest rides and blah blah blah, but I did once do a 6 hour ride that averaged -6 degrees, and I'll put a screenshot here so you believe me. A bit of a change in scenery, but socks are just, don't need to faff around with it. These are just some everyday thick socks, wool socks. Don't need cycling specific socks. And I wanted to show them, but I can't find them. I've lost them. But essentially, I'll swap these out if it's wet and cold for a pair of neoprene socks, again that are meant for surfing. I'm not a surfer, but I used to be called a surfer dude. Now they're just the neoprene socks for surfing. They essentially just trap a warm layer of water around your feet, and stops you getting quite as cold. And they would just be on underneath the shoe, and then the normal neoprene shoe covers on top. Now, to start off with, I think we'll just get right in, and I've got a bunch of, these are, got clothes here just out of the shop, but I'll show you through, and I'll probably go through a range of temperatures, and the colder it gets I'll show you what you need to put on. And I got a bunch of, I suppose, accessory clothing, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now to start with, I've got base layer here. Now this base layer is brilliant, and it's from a company called Craft. And again, none of this is sponsored, it's just from my experience of riding through the years. This is what I found works best. Okay, best. So Craft, and this is actually a windproof. Look, feather. A windproof front. So when you're cycling along, this front bit here is windproof. Okay, and then on the back, it's a nice soft mesh that's got stretch in it. So you can see that here on the front, windproof, and then breathable on the back, so you never get too hot, sweat and get that feeling. So that's a brilliant piece of kit for the colder climbs. Okay, that's your go-to to start with, your base, good foundations. It's always important. Now the next one for winter cycling, as you can see behind me, here in the northern hemisphere, winter is coming. Yes. So with these shorts, these are from Gore. They actually have on the front, so you see, if I hang them up like this, you can see the dimensions. So the front bit, protecting your sensitive area, there's actually a little bit of a windproof piece of material here, just at the front of the chamois, the pad on your shorts, at the front here, just to, because that's something that I always struggle with in riding in winter is, when it gets cold down there. Family friendly channel, so, the private area gets cold, and I'm sure it's the same for men and women, and there's a great little thought gone into, I think, those shorts. So yeah, there you go. And I suppose if you can't find a pair of shorts like this, then like the thicker merino wool shorts, pretty good. Now the next piece of kit, I say this is just starting foundations. Okay, so next piece of kit, so this is what I would wear, so it's nice and bright. Again, this is Gore, so you can be seen on the road. Now this is quite thick, so I would usually, with something like this, so long sleeve, again it's like sort of merino wool, so it's It's not really thick, but it's good for temperatures, say down to 12 degrees. I would say you could wear this with the windproof base layer as a pair, and that would be all you would need on the top. I would say down to maybe 11, 10 degrees. That would be a good start. And when the temperature starts to drop below 10, so you get to about 9 degrees, I actually put these arm warmers on underneath this. Now that might sound a bit peculiar, but these arm warmers, these are from Sportful, and these are actually got a windproof, like a windproof side and then a breathable side. So here you can see where this difference in fabric is. There's like a wind stopper, I think it's here, like a shield, and then a breathable section, so it stops you needing to put on another layer on top, and then you don't necessarily get that cold warm feeling. I think this is, yeah, with the arm warmers and little squirrel in the background. So this combination, I would say, is a good foundation point to start. Probably taking you down to the high single figures, I would say 9 degrees. I mean, it's up to your sort of personal feelings, but I hate it when you get too hot, when you think it's cold, and then you maybe stop and you get hot and cold, hot and cold. So this is a great way to do it down to about, I'd say, 8 or 9 degrees, which is breathable and comfortable. And then the next layer, so probably the last layer that I put on before I start getting into the more, full metal jacket sort of, so to speak, more, heavier stuff for the colder climes. That's the last layer. So it's a windproof gilet, a wind stopper, goes on the top, and that's kind of the last of the, I suppose, the cold autumn weather before the proper winter weather starts. Now, probably about to ditch these little mitts and go for something a bit more full tog, I suppose you'd call it. So get rid of them. Now, for these, again, these sort of things can be personal preference, but I would recommend to never use those gloves. They look like these, so they say that they're windproof and waterproof and whatnot, because when you put your hand in them, after a while they basically just become completely soaked, and it's like putting your hand in like a plastic bag. It's not particularly comfortable. So your hand's going to get as wet as it was, because they're not breathable. As wet as it was if it was raining and it wasn't waterproof from sweat. So I have two different makes here of neoprene gloves. So I go for neoprene. Always wear neoprene. So I've got DHB, and these are from Madison. Now I got a few pairs of these from Madison at the time because they were on sale, but I have to warn that they aren't particularly well made, and I've dropped one down here. So after not a huge amount of use, you can see the neoprene part here is just, so that's like the pad of your hand. I haven't fallen off, that's just wear. I think that was just a few weeks of riding, really. It just came apart, and on the second pair it's starting to do the same thing. So I can't recommend them, but I can recommend these DHB gloves. Now they do have tears and whatnot and wear, but I've used these. I've got two pairs here, and I think I've got a third pair in the house in HQ. Now they do have some wear, see on the thumb, but these have done lots and lots of miles in the winter, so way more than these. So these, one pair of these will definitely, I would say, last you a winter. But I usually get 2 or 3 pairs, because the thing with the neoprene gloves is when you've washed them, firstly remember to turn them inside out. So you go like this and pull them all the way inside out when you wash them, because they can actually get a bit smelly on the inside, and you want to wash the inside. But always get a number of these, because so if you wear them on a Monday or a Tuesday, these are not going to be dry the next day. I repeat, not dry. So if you want to do a week or 3 days or 4 days in a row, or 3 days in a row, for example, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even so if you wore these pair on Tuesday and you wanted them the next day, they would not be dry. And if you wanted them for Thursday, if you'd start on Tuesday, they still would not be dry. So you probably need 3 pairs, I would say, and it's a worthwhile investment. Now, when it gets a bit colder, you might upgrade to a pair of bib tights. So with these shorts, initially, I would wear a pair of leg warmers, again down to 8 or 9 degrees, and then below that you probably might want to think about some bib tights. So essentially it does away with the need for leg warmers if you don't find that comfortable. So these are from Sportful again, and they're like a merino wool. They're actually not that thick, and the wind stopping capabilities is, well, 0 really, to be honest. But these will probably be good to take you down the next few degrees, but I would recommend a change when it gets colder than that, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. Now, again, when you're getting down to 10 degrees, 11 degrees, a neck warmer. You definitely want a neck warmer. Now this is not a windproof neck warmer. Yes, I have a windproof neck warmer here in a moment. I'll show you. But these are great, if you, I suppose you can take your helmet off quickly and put this on if it gets too cold, because you can stuff it in your pocket. But I would say it's great because when you put it on, you can then pull it up like this. If it gets really cold, but yeah, probably need a windproof one by the time you need that. Now, got some layers here, different hats. So I would say you would start off with, so in the warmest to cold, so you'd start off with something like this. So it's a headband. It goes on your head like this, if I didn't have all my hair. Now this front bit here is windproof. It's a windproof layer. It's Gore-Tex, actually. Yeah. And again, this is from Sportful. Quite expensive for what it is, but if you suffer from that sort of headachy feeling when it gets cold, the cold air here, because it's blowing it past you, this is great to stop that feeling. It doesn't necessarily cover the ears, but it's good for the wind's coming in on your forehead. It stops that feeling. And I would say probably a combination of next cycling cap with this. So you put that on probably first, and then this next. Now I find I've actually torn off on this one the cap. So the cap would be here on the cycling cap, like the baseball cap, but I've actually taken it off because I just prefer just to have a hat that just fits over my head, rather than having the cap always there. I just find that annoying. And then I'd say the next level up to stay warm is like a skull cap. Now this actually has a design where it comes down over your ears. It's stops that sensation of, again, you can get the headachy feeling from getting cold. Now we're down to about, I would say, in terms of moving along from the autumn weather to the winter weather now, you're probably going to start getting to that, full tog, bigger tog. Now, we're going to get into stuff like this big thick jacket. Now you're probably going to start to want to wear something like this really when it's getting down to freezing, I would say, because this is a sportful jacket again, and this was expensive. At full price it was getting on for £300. And I've had this a good few years, and I've found even though it's supposed to be breathable, you do still sweat a lot, and when it's still in the single digits, maybe 7 or 8, and it's suddenly becomes a body shock from it being 15 degrees or so, you can really overheat with something like this. And even when you zip it all the way down and open it up, you're going to be sweating so much that you're going to get that whole hot cold feeling. So I would definitely hold on with something like that until it's really getting down to those single digits. So what do I do after it's getting down to the single digits and this base that I start with, and I need something a bit warmer? Well, the next thing that I look for is something like this. Now this is a windproof neck warmer. Yeah, a windproof neck warmer. Isn't that great? And again, you can pull it up, if the wind's coming into your face. So that's really something you need to look for. This one's from DHB. I don't know whether DHB make a windproof neck warmer anymore, but definitely recommend. That's definitely something you need. Now when it's sort of between the low single digits and it's below freezing, I like to wear this intermediary get up. Okay, so I go down actually from the thick long sleeve top, I go back to a short sleeve top. Now you might be thinking, what is he talking about? Well, short sleeve top with the base layer and some arm warmers that are not windproof. Where have I put them? Well, I do have some here somewhere. Oh, here you go. Just a standard pair of arm warmers, and then the thick top, a big thick coat, full metal jacket coat, full winter coat. Now this is my combination that I use sort of between it being below freezing and low single figures, so let's say 2 or 3 degrees down to freezing. Now this, I find, stops that feeling I keep saying of getting warm, cold. So you sweat too much and then you get cold and you sweat too much. So you're trying to always find that middle ground where you aren't overheating even though it's still cold, so you don't get, feel sick from feeling a cold getting into you. Now, what do I wear on my feet? Well, on my shoes. Now I start off with, when it's now in autumn as it's moving into winter, the shoe covers, I start just with these toe covers. Again, these are from Sportful, they're neoprene. So when it's above single digits, so I would say down to maybe 12 degrees, 11 degrees at the lowest, I wear these. And they just give that protection from the wind over your toes. Now the next layer I go to is a pair of overshoes. Now these are from DHB again, and These are a size medium, and I think there's different thicknesses of the neoprene. I think DHB, when they first started making these, they only had, I think it was something like 2mm thick neoprene, but there's now I think a 3 or 3.5mm. So check the thickness of the neoprene, because the colder it gets, the thicker you're going to need it. Right. So what do I do when it gets down to the -6 that I was talking about earlier? Well, I'll show you what combination I use. So firstly, I go back from, so I don't use the bib tights anymore. I go back to using the shorts. And again, you might think, you're crazy. So I go back to the shorts with the leg warmers. Here. And the magic weapon of choice for your winter cycling outfit. These are not bib tights, but they're tights, cycling tights, and they don't have a chamois. Yeah, so these are full, like they're almost like, you know, what fishermen we would wear, or you know, like those sort of overall type things. So these are from, I think it's Endura. Now they're like what bib tights would be. So if I open them up here, you can see there isn't. So what you do is you put on your cycling shorts and you put on your leg warmers like you would, and then over the top you pull these on and they go up and they go over your shoulders, and they come right up when you zip these up, right up to almost your belly button. And these are brilliant because you don't have two chamois on top of each other. These are much better than the bib tights because you'd want to have, this is when it's getting really cold, so essentially you've got your leg warmers and these on, so it's like two bib tights basically on top of each other. But because they don't have a chamois, you don't have two chamois pushing against each other, which would be really uncomfortable. And I did do that one winter, and I cannot recommend it. Don't do it. So they're amazing. Again, just like the Craft windproof base layer, amazing. When your windproof neck warmer isn't up to scratch, you want the balaclava. So I would say, again, this is down to 0, -1, and down to -6 at least, because I've done 6 hours in -6. So this, I would say you'd wear in combination. So firstly, you know, about -1 by itself, and then when it's getting down really cold, so this, when you put it on, essentially your whole face is basically still going to be on show. But if you want to cover, you know, your mouth and your nose and still have like you're not being asphyxiated, so you can still breathe, I've got this. This is from Madison, and this is good. So essentially it's like an upgrade to the balaclava that's meant for cycling, and it just leaves essentially this bit, you know, just where your glasses would be, and there's a little slit for your ear, a little slit for the nose, and a sort of a grating there for where your mouth would be, so you can still feel like you can breathe. Now for the feet, when it gets this cold, I would layer up more on the outside of the shoe. So I would have these on, then a pair of medium neoprene boots, overshoes, and then on top of that, a pair of large. So you've got, what's that? You know, that's 2, 4, that's like at least 6 or 7 millimeters of neoprene, if not more, and you've got layers of air trapped in there. And I would say, you know, when it's wet and raining, I have these surfing things. I'm not a surfer, so I'm not exactly sure what they are, but essentially I slip these on here like this underneath, so right next to the skin, underneath the leg warmers, and essentially it's just a really thick pad of neoprene. I mean, look how thick that is. So if you're getting the road spray up from water, you know, it keeps that section of your leg maybe that's sticking out above the top of your overshoe warmer. Now the point of these is you're wet but you're warm. And again, you know, if you're allergic to latex, you know, you have to stick with the neoprene. But these from Velotoes are great. Again, you can put these maybe on as a first layer over the top of your shoe. Essentially it's just a thin piece of latex, but slippery hands. It's just a thin piece of latex, but it's great for when it's wet. It just gives that added bit of sort of holding in a layer of warm water around your feet, ideally. So what do we have left here? Now I would say when you're needing the big coat, I wouldn't go for the cheaper option. I would say if you're wanting to invest in a good coat, you can get stuff second hand. So this is a one from Crane, I think. The only thing is about this is it has no wind stopping capability. It's quite thick and heavy, so when it gets wet it gets heavier. It's not particularly, you know, it seems warm when you first put it on and nice, but then as soon as you start cycling it absorbs wet, you sweat. If it rains it's not waterproof or windproof, and it doesn't particularly regulate your heat very well, so you'll be zipping up and down at the front. And so I would definitely invest in a bit of a, you know, more expensive jacket for the winter. And I would always take with me as an extra layer, no matter what, something like this. So this is just a very lightweight jacket, and this is from Crane. I haven't spent a lot like on a Castelli jacket or whatnot, so I'd always take this as an extra layer, so you can just really scrunch it off really quickly and easily. I mean, I've just done that really quickly, and that just goes straight in the back pocket. I always put that in my middle pocket, and that's even when I'm like completely dressed up with every single piece of clothing that I can have. I always take that as a, you know, safety measure. You know, if you stop, you get a puncture, just always have one of them with you, no matter what the temperature, even if it's winter, summer, autumn. Always take that extra layer to stop the exposure. Now I have covered everything apart from my secret. The secret that I use to ride throughout the winter no matter what the temperature, and I'll explain why I only use the neoprene gloves, and it's these BMITs. Yes. I'll take you to HQ and I'll show you what these are, but no, I don't put them on like this. These slip on my bike. These go on the handlebars like this when I'm going along, and I'll show you. So here they are, the BMITs. Just show you how they go on. This is the right hand side one, and it's going to go on my handlebars like this. Now I just need to remove my little bike mirror, and I'll show you how they go on. You actually go from bottom, slide up like this, and these actually have are built in by design. They fit drop bars like this on my road bike, and they also have a zip here. So if you have the old-fashioned inverted commas bars where the cables come out the side, then you can actually let the cables come out here if you haven't got the integrated hoods. So I've got Shimano on here, 9001 series. You just velcro it there, and then you just tighten it up here on like that, and then you just go in and make your final adjustments, and there you go. It's not brilliant. Keeps your hand warm, and then you just need to wear a neoprene glove on, and then I would say these are good down to -10 or more. Some other kit to mention while I'm here is helmet. Please try and find please bright colours, so when you start to dress up and you've got your winter coats on, they're usually black, dark colours. So a nice visible neon helmet is great for the winter, like it's getting dark. And also, so these are quite expensive and they don't need to be necessarily, but actually quite a wide sort of shield to protect your face and eyes from the wind and the cold. So these really, so when you've got these on and you've got your helmet on, and maybe you've got lots of balaclavas or whatever, if you need that, these give you a good covering, protect your face, your eyes from the winter. So I definitely recommend like a big pair of sunglasses, sports glasses in the winter. Now let's get back to the rest of it. Now I hope you enjoyed the video and you were able to learn something new, maybe even if you're a seasoned veteran or you're new, this is your first winter cycling. I hope you have a good and safe winter, and subscribe, like the video. Got plenty of more on the channel about diet and exercise and living a good life, bike life. If you want to see more, then again subscribe, and I'll have plenty more coming. Thank you for your time.